can't tell you exactly what the numbers are, but they're very strong. It's one of TLC's, if not TLC's, top show. We've had the JVC cameras on the Little People Big World show from the start of season 3, when we made the turnaround or move to HD. We have 4 JVC cameras on the show. We have 2 200s. We have 2 250s. You know, the first comment is, wow, this image quality is unreal. I mean, I was not expecting to see this kind of color. I was not expecting to see this kind of, it's really just a very pleasing image. The first 2 seasons of Little People Big World was photographed with the DVX 100s, 100Bs and As, and Betacam. And that was not a stylistic choice that we made. That was really a request by the network, TLC. At the start of the 3rd season, which was in April of 2007, TLC made a commitment with all their programming to move not only to 16:9 but also to HD. What we did is we brought 4 or 5 cameras up to Portland for 2 days. We flew all the equipment up there. You know, we looked at the Canon camera, the 2 Panasonic cameras. JVC was the last camera that we put up on the screen. And there was a tangible energy in the room like, wow, this camera looks fantastic. Now, is this, you know, some of the execs were, is this the 900 again? Or which, oh, this is the JVC? Huh. Because no one was really familiar with JVC. It wasn't a name that, you know, reality shows or documentary shows have been familiar with, at least not in this circle. And I was, frankly, floored. I mean, I thought the image quality was on par with the 900. You know, the depth of field is a different issue with the 1/3 chip camera, so you have to sort of concede that. But the fact that you have interchangeable lenses, we brought up wide lenses for all the cameras, and for the fixed lens cameras, we used wide angle converters so that we were all working, you know, basically on the same wide angle lens. And the Fujinon 3.5 to 46 lens was just a dream. I mean, it's really moving in the direction of like a film lens or you know, a higher end HD lens that you know, I personally am more comfortable with and would want to work with and would want to buy. So the group as a whole was just floored and sold with JVC. I mean, the frame rate was pleasing in the 24 frame rate. There wasn't a lot of jaggedness or stutter. Canon's frame rate was awful. I mean, there was just so much stutter on the 24 that it was just unusable. The camera's relatively fast. It's faster than the HVX 200. Probably the biggest obstacle for the HVX 200 was the fact that it's, when you want to shoot in HD, it's a P2 card. It's not a tape format. And there was a real lack of comfort from the producing company with that concept. So immediately the HVX 200 had sort of a strike against it. The other thing that bothered me about that camera was that to be at a focal length that I knew we needed to be at with that camera, we had to use Century's wide angle converter, which we used with the DVX 100s. And it's not a great piece of glass. And as soon as you put any kind of converter on a primary lens, you're already losing image quality, and in HD you start to really see it much quicker. So the image quality of the Century converter for the HD camera for Panasonic is better, but it's not anything close to what Fujinon or Canon's making for the JVC camera. So already, from my point of view, there was a huge advantage with JVC just going to that format lens. Well, it's not so little. It's a 40-acre farm outside Portland. You know, in the summertime, this is a really tough place to shoot because the dust is very fine and it's flying everywhere. So when you're working out at the family's farm, especially in the summer, it's just a constant dust storm. And there are tractors and there are trucks and there's all kinds of farm machinery moving around. And these cameras are seeing situations they probably weren't necessarily designed for. For me, it just is like, I know we're going to get it. You know, because if there's a problem with the HDV tape format, we've got it on the drive. And these drives have worked really well. We mount them like you do on the back of your camera. The balance is fantastic because it pulls the camera back a little bit. The wide lenses are very heavy and they're physically quite big. So, you know, the extra weight on the back of the camera and you're powering them off an Anton Bauer battery, they're just, I mean, we've had very few problems. And I'm telling you, we have pushed these cameras. So I'm not sure if the audience is sitting there going, wow, look at, they switched to HD. I can really see the difference. But I think that within the experience of watching the show, like we went and spent 2 weeks with them in the Bahamas last year, and the colors are just, jumping off the screen. It's just mind-boggling. And I'm sure people appreciate that. And if we're doing our job, the audience should first be taken in by the story, and they shouldn't really be thinking about the beauty of the show. But if it's there and it's enhancing the experience, which I think it is, then it's doing its job. The format's doing its job.